This live truly left armies around the world speechless, then in tears, then smiling all at once. Not because of camera effects, not because of editing, and definitely not because of empty rumors. This Jikook live felt different. No filters, no script, no distance. Just Jungkook and Jimin, as they are, sitting together, sharing space, time, and feelings that until now could only be guessed at through snippets of moments. From the very first second the live began, the energy between them felt warm. Jungkook wasn't just there as the friendly BTS member, and Jimin wasn't just smiling as a professional idol. There was a comfort that was difficult to describe in words. Their gazes often met, then turned away as if aware of being watched, but returned again with small, honest smiles. These small gestures were actually the strongest proof, because sincerity cannot be hidden. ARMY began to notice something when Jungkook naturally adjusted his position to be closer to Jimin. It wasn't a big movement, not a dramatic hug, but a distance that narrowed as time went on. Jimin also seemed completely comfortable, laughing freely, leaning back, and occasionally looking at Jungkook as if to say, "I'm safe here." There was no awkwardness. There were no boundaries. What made this live feel unfiltered wasn't just the camera, but the way they shared everything. Jungkook spoke more openly than usual, laughed without restraint, and Jimin, in his gentle way, listened attentively. When one spoke, the other truly listened. This wasn't just a coworker interaction. It was the dynamic of two people who knew each other off stage. Some small moments actually became emotional blows for ARMY. Jungkook's smile changing when Jimin spoke. Jimin's voice warming up when he called Jungkook's name. The way Jungkook reflexively turned his head every time Jimin moved. All of this was too consistent to be called a coincidence. Too natural to be called acting. ARMY began to realize, if this is just fan service, why does it feel so real? Why isn't it excessive? Why isn't it contrived? Why is it so simple and calm? That's where its power lies. Love, or at least a very deep closeness, isn't always loud. Sometimes it comes in silence, in comfort, in small, unnoticed habits. This live also opened many people's eyes to the fact that Jungkook and Jimin's relationship has developed far beyond just stage chemistry. They share an emotional space. There is trust, there is a sense of mutual protection. When Jungkook laughs too loudly, Jimin calms him down with a look. When Jimin looks a little tired, Jungkook subtly shifts the focus to keep the mood light. This is a form of attention that cannot be learned overnight. It's no wonder that after the live ended, ARMY's timeline was filled with tears and certainty. Many said, "Now I understand." Not because there was an official confession, but because feelings can't be hidden for too long. What made ARMY cry wasn't a single sentence or a single gesture, but the overall atmosphere. That what we saw was a living, breathing, real relationship. Does this mean they are together in the way everyone thinks? Jungkook and Jimin don't need to answer that with words. The unfiltered live spoke for itself. Their closeness, the way they shared everything, and the comfort that radiated from them were the most honest answers they could give. And for ARMY, this might be the most touching part, seeing two people we love find each other's home. Not on a grand stage, not behind a big concept, but in a simple moment, live without filters, where Jungkook and Jimin are simply themselves. Live may have technically ended, but its impact only began after the screen was turned off. ARMY didn't leave immediately. Many sat silently, staring at the blank screen, trying to process what they had just witnessed. Because the feelings that lingered were not just happiness, but a mixture of emotion, certainty, and a warm feeling that was difficult to explain. It was as if we had just been allowed to peek into something very personal. If you look deeper, this Jikook live wasn't about one big viral moment, but a series of small details that were neatly arranged without intention. The way Jungkook laughed and then immediately glanced at Jimin, making sure of his reaction. The way Jimin smiled before answering Jungkook's question, as if seeking approval without words. Even the silent pauses between them felt comfortable, not awkward. This is a language understood only by two people who have shared the same world for a long time. ARMY, who have followed Jikook for years, immediately noticed the difference. This isn't the Jikook of big stages, not the Jikook filled with wide grins and energetic movements. This is the calm Jikook, mature, deep. And it's precisely there that their emotions feel the strongest. Jungkook looked more reflective, while Jimin became a soft yet solid anchor of emotion. This dynamic didn't just appear out of nowhere. It grew from time, trust, and shared experiences. There was one moment that made many armies hold their breath, when Jungkook spoke for quite a while, then stopped, and Jimin looked at him with an expression that couldn't be faked. Not the gaze of one idol to another, but the gaze of someone who truly cares. Jimin's eyes don't just see, they listen. And Jungkook, who is usually full of energy, looks calm under that gaze, as if he knows that whatever he says will be accepted. This live also feels like a silent confession. Not a confession through the word we, but through habit. Sharing space without feeling the need to fill every second with talk. Laughing at the same things. Knowing when to joke and when to be serious. This is a form of togetherness that is usually only possessed by people who are really close, whether they are true friends, chosen family, or someone more than that. Many armies wrote that they cried not because of the drama, but because of the sincerity. Because for the first time, many felt that they weren't imagining something. This live didn't aggressively push any narrative. There were no excessive codes. There was no obvious fan service. That's precisely why it felt real, like two people who forgot that the world was watching. Interestingly, Jungkook and Jimin both showed their vulnerable sides, albeit in different ways. Jungkook with his spontaneous honesty, Jimin with his subtle empathy. And when these two sides met, a beautiful balance was created. ARMY didn't just see closeness, but a mutually supportive relationship. After the live, small fragments began to be analyzed, second by second, smile by smile. But the more it was analyzed, the clearer one conclusion became. Nothing seemed contrived. Even the simplest moments, like sitting side by side, felt meaningful, because true comfort needs no explanation. This unfiltered Jikook live ultimately became more than just a broadcast. It became a mirror for ARMY about how genuine feelings work. That love, or deep closeness, doesn't always need public acknowledgement. Sometimes it's present in presence, in small gestures, in the way two people look out for each other, even when they're not trying. And perhaps this is the fact that makes ARMY most certain and cry together. Whatever the label, whatever the name, Jungkook and Jimin clearly share something very precious. Something that cannot be faked by cameras, cannot be controlled by concepts, and cannot be denied by time. The live may have ended, but the feelings it left behind will linger for a long time.